Clutch Sports Talk. Let's go. Good morning, everyone. How you guys doing? This is me, your boy Ryan Flowers, aka Clutch Sports Talk, and welcome to the newly rebranded show from NFL Sunday Morning now to NFL Sunday Wake Up with me, Ryan Flowers. Hey, man, we had a tremendous weekend. The draft concluded yesterday. We kicked it off Thursday night with the grid guys. Man, we had a great show on that first night, and then I had a couple other interviews based off of that. But listen, it was a great time this weekend. This was a big night or big weekend for the Grid Network. Everyone showed up and showed out. But again, welcome. Good morning, wherever you guys are listening to. You guys can get your information from anywhere, but you're choosing to do it here. On today's show, man, we got tons to talk about. Of course, we have to unpack what happened in the draft. Kings of the South. An influx of young quarterback talent has invaded the South. We'll get into that. No agent, no problem. Lamar Jackson gets the bag. And finally, Aaron Rodgers comes out of the light and steps into the bright lights of New York City. And then we're going to talk about winners and losers team edition of the NFL draft. So, wow. We got lots to talk about. But if you're in the comment section or if you're in the comments or you're watching right now live, make sure you drop a comment. But other than that, man, hey, all I got to say is sit back and relax and enjoy the show. This is Clutch Sports Talk, NFL Sunday Wake Up with me, Ryan Flowers. Let's go. And good morning once again. It's me, your boy, your host, Ryan Flowers, a.k.a. Clutch Sports Talk in the house. And this is NFL Sunday Wake Up. Man, before I get into the show, before I even start, I want to start by saying, appreciate everyone that joined the live stream for the Grid Network live draft reaction show. Man, it was a great time. We had a bunch of guys on there. Mike Guido, Barry Grant, Bryson Carver, who hosted and moderated the show. He did a fantastic job. Who else was on there? We had Devin from the At the Bank podcast, our new Ravens podcast show located on the Grid Network. He's got some things coming up. We had Alfred Parsard from Rocket Fuel, a Jets podcast on the Grid Network as well. We had NFL with AJL. He's not with the Grid, but he's I guess he's extended family, so he joined us as well to give us a lot of good insight. So I don't think did I miss anybody? I don't think. If I did, forgive me. But we had a great time, man. Listen, that 4.5 hours blew by. It did. I did the same thing a couple years ago. But it wasn't nearly as fun as it was this past Thursday. So shout out to those guys and shout out to the guys that watched it who couldn't join the live stream, like my boy Patrick. I know you had to take care of some things. So next year you're going to be in there, brother. So we look forward to having you. So, but everyone else, thank you. If you want to go back, go to the social media platforms and look at the reactions to the Dallas Cowboys pick. And we're going to talk about that later, as well as the Jets. And one last thing before we move on, if you haven't hit me up on Instagram, on YouTube, do so now, please. Trying to make that push, trying to get to 500 subscribers, hopefully in the next couple months or so. But I need your help. Other than that, man, hey, let's get the show rolling. So, oh wait, we already got a comment. Patrick Brown, he said, "Great job with the NFL draft. Great team members. Job well done. I look forward to being part of it 2024. Absolutely, my brother. Absolutely, my brother. And then we got the Grid Network. Get those likes up, tap in. Yeah, if you're watching, like it, share it. Do what you got to do, man. I appreciate it. It helps me with my show. Oh, yes. Yes, Parnell. My bad, Parnell. Yes, and I also forgot to add Parnell. He's with our Commanders on Demand, our Washington Commanders page. He's doing great things there, too. So my bad, brother. My bad, brother. And Ben Cornett, Mozzie Smith. We'll get into that. We'll get into that a little bit later on. But yeah, I appreciate you guys. Again, my bad, partner. Yeah, you were definitely in there. You were doing your thing, my brother. So apologies. All right. So Kings of the South. We got an influx of quarterbacks heading down to the AFC and NFC South. You got Bryce Young, got drafted to the Carolina Panthers. Congratulations to him for being the #1 overall pick. We got CJ Stroud going to the Houston Texans. We got Anthony Richardson going to the Indianapolis Colts. And Will Levis finally got selected the second night, and he's heading over to Tennessee to play for the Titans. So that's a bunch of talent, especially that AFC South. That AFC South is going to be, I'm not gonna say they'll be exciting because listen, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, and Will Levis, I think we'll see some time sooner than later. And of course, Bryce Young is going to be the guy in Carolina. But I want to start by each and every one of those players and in the teams that they went to respectively. I think Bryce Young, arguably should have been the number one overall pick. I think no one could debate that. He had all the skill set that you need for a quarterback. The only problem with him was his size, his diminutive stature, but we'll have to wait and see. But it's a good pickup for them. They needed a quarterback. Frank Reich's got an all-star list of coaches there in Carolina. He's a quarterback whisperer himself, so we'll see how it goes. And they've done a lot in the offseason. Added Adam Thielen, Hayden Hurst. They pick up Miles Sanders, and they drafted a guy who I personally like from Ole Miss, Jonathan Mingo, who might be a beast. So, remember that name, Jonathan Mingo. And then you look at CJ Stroud, who was taken number 2 overall to the Houston Texans, who are also like what they did in the draft. They went and got their cornerstone guys. They got CJ Stroud, a quarterback of the future, and you got Will Anderson, right? A defensive cornerstone, a pillar, what you need for DeMeco Ryans and his defense. And they went and got a bunch of other guys to help support them. A guy that comes to mind is like Tank Dell. He's a punt return specialist, things of that nature. So, but the guy's blazing fast. So what can you say about that? And then you look at Anthony Richardson, who has an opportunity to play early, which a lot of people will probably disagree that he shouldn't be playing early. I think he should. It is what it is. He's athletic. He's going to a good organization for the most part. And Indianapolis, they've had a bad run of quarterbacks the last couple of years, right? Phillip Rivers was on his way out, and then you had the Carson Wentz scenario last season that did not pan out. So, but I think where they're going with Shane Steichen being the head coach there, him having previous experience with Jalen Hurts as being the OC for Philadelphia. I think that was the reason why they took probably Anthony Richardson over Will Levis. Anthony Richardson tests off the charts as far as an athlete's concerned. Now, yes, some may argue, well, I want my quarterback to be a quarterback, and I get that. Now, will it result in championships? We don't know. We definitely don't know. But it can result in some wins a la Lamar Jackson. So we'll have to wait and see about that. And then Will Levis, goes to Tennessee. I thought Tennessee did a pretty good job this draft class. They addressed a couple of needs, especially on the offensive line. They picked up the tackle or guard tackle. I forgot what it was. I think it was a tackle from Northwestern Skoronski, which was a need for them. They lost Taylor Lewan this offseason. And they needed a quarterback. Ryan Tannehill is on his way out. Malik Willis, that project, I think, is pretty much said and done. But, all these 4 guys will have a potential to start somewhere down the line next season for sure. Obviously Bryce will probably be the number 1. CJ will probably be number 1. Anthony Richardson maybe have to be worked in a little bit, because they got Nick Foles, and I believe Sam Ellinger is still there. And then, Will Levis will still have to play behind Ryan Tannehill, which eventually he's going to get benched or he's going to get hurt, So, but we'll have to wait and see. And, the good of the situation, you're going to a good coach. You're not going to some random place without good organizational skills. Mike Vrabel is arguably one of the most underrated. If you do that, he's a great coach. So, he was one of the top quarterbacks. He was featured at one point. People were having him going number 1 at least, right? And then now he fell to the second round. All that too could be attributed to his attitude, right? His last couple interviews over the last couple of weeks. There's a fine line between cockiness and confidence. And I think he was riding that line a little bit more on the cockiness side of things. And maybe that deter a couple teams, right? And so that's why the Colts ended up picking Anthony Richardson over Will Levis, because maybe they felt that Anthony Richardson might be a little bit more coachable versus Will Levis. So we'll have to wait and see. But again, the Kings of the South, the South just got a lot of good talent, I would say. We're going to have to wait and see what happens with them as they move forward into their careers starting next season. We got some comments already. We got the Carving Up podcast. Bryson Carver, what's up, my brother? Hey, he did a fantastic job moderating the NFL draft reaction show that we had on the Grid Network. So shout out to him. Parnell from Sports PSP. That's also his other show that he conducts. He says Texans and Eagles won the draft, the Philadelphia Bulldogs. So we'll get to that here actually next in a second. And he also says Anthony Richardson needs to sit and learn. He would have been in a better situation in Seattle. I don't know, but we'll talk about that. I'll definitely unpack that. I'll share my thoughts on that. And then Texas did a phenomenal job in the first round. Ben Cornett says they got their QB and their DN for DeMeco Ryans, excuse me. And Texans did out taking advantage of all the picks they got from Cleveland and getting to the top tier talent. Absolutely. A nice little 2-for-1, but again, we'll talk about that. Let's see here. We got screen froze here. Oh, there we go. All right, and then Ben follows up with love what the Lions did. I'm glad Hendon Hooker got drafted there so he can sit and learn. Goff will be the guy for another year or two, and they're going to be a playoff team. It'll be an easier transition for someone like Hooker. Someone like Anthony Richardson could use that, So, yeah, I get it. And a lot of people like to have their guys sit. Me personally, if you can play, you can play. Get them out there. I'm not going to be wasting my time. I need to know now if I'm a GM or a coach. But let's segue to the next topic of this morning's show is winners and losers, right? Who won the draft, right? Obviously, we got a couple things here we want to talk about. I mean, listen, do I have to say anything about the Philadelphia Eagles? I mean, I will, obviously, I have to kind of, but here's sorry about that, but here's the thing about the Eagles. Howie Roseman is just lighting everybody up, man. He's lighting everybody up. He's doing what he needs to do. He's stealing players, making moves. What they were able to do in the first night. Obviously, you get Jalen Carter, he falls to you. All right. Arguably the best player in the draft. Best player in the draft falls to you. And you pick him up to add him and pair him up on your defensive line. So, and when you look at their draft board this past draft, they keyed in on defense. They said, you know what? We thought we were a good defense. Patrick Mahomes proved that you weren't that good. Why? Because you couldn't get after the quarterback. Okay. They addressed that. At least we think we did. And it started with Jalen Carter. Then later on that night, they go and get Nolan Smith, who fell, obviously. Okay. And then, you address the offensive line. You get a guy like Tyler Steen, because, the offensive line is getting older. Jason Kelsey's going to retire at some point after this season. So you got to start to influx a little bit of youth into that offensive line. And they did so. And then they followed up with Keely Ringo, who a lot of people were shocked that fell to them so late, especially on day 3. If you don't know who Keely Ringo is, throw on the tape. Phenomenal corner, right? And then Sidney Brown, another defensive back, which they needed to address because they lost 2 of their safeties in this offseason with Gardner Johnson. And then I believe is it Mike Epps? I think his name was Mike Epps or Epps. He went to the Las Vegas Raiders. So they did a fantastic job taking care of their needs, and they got cornerstone guys. So honestly, they killed the draft. They did a fantastic job. And then you look at the Chicago Bears. They picked up a tackle. Darnell Wright may have been a reach for some people. Some people may have thought that was a reach, but you know what? Hey, they addressed an issue. They needed to protect Justin Fields a little bit better. He's not running around back there for his life. So, they went and got an offensive lineman, one of the top offensive linemen. Another pick that I think went under the radar, the other Texas running back, other than Bijan Robinson, Roschon Johnson, who was a nice change of pace back in Texas. I think he can come in and do the same thing there that he did in Texas. He can do in Chicago. And I think he could be just as good. I think, Bijan Robinson is Bijan Robinson, arguably one of the best running back prospects we've had since Adrian Peterson, maybe Ezekiel Elliott. So I like what the Bears did there. You protect your quarterback. And then they also got some other guys on defense. Noah Sewell, middle linebacker, very athletic, big middle linebacker to anchor that defense. So, overall, I think they did a good job. Then obviously the Texans did a fabulous job early in the first round. You get CJ Stroud, you trade with the Cardinals, and then you get Will Anderson. Then they picked up Juice Scruggs, who's a center, right? That's from Penn State, I believe it was, which, people are like, a center, who cares? Listen, you have to solidify that offensive line. And it starts in the draft. You can get good guys, and I thought they did that. And then I talked about Tank Dell, the wide receiver out of Houston, who's like a return specialist. That guy is lightning in a bottle. He's a touchdown waiting to happen. If you check my clutch combine that I did on him, I think last week or the week before. So I think they did really good. They got bang for their buck. They got a lot of value in their picks. They weren't just like, oh, let's just randomly draft some guys, So, good on them. I thought the Colts. Now, some people are going to be like, the Colts, what are you talking about? They got Anthony Richardson, Blake Freeland, defensive tackle out of what's his name? God, I can't think of his name. He's like a weird name. It's like Ada Beowar. I think his first name is Twanwa Baywar or something like that. Darius Rush, Daniel Scott, Will Mallory, and Evan Hall. And you're probably wondering, who the hell are these guys? All these guys tested at the top of the charts in regards to athleticism. What does that mean to me? What does that mean to you? It means that the Colts are trying to get young and they're trying to get athletic, which you have to have in the National Football League. In the National Football League. And that's what they did. So I think, what they have now and what they drafted, I think will mesh well. You got a new head coach. Listen, the Colts, a lot of people had the Colts in the Super Bowl last season. Now, things happen, injury bugs. Jonathan Taylor goes down. The offensive line wasn't blocking the way they used to. The defense kind of suffered a little bit, but I think now maybe, with a new, what's the best word to say? A new train of thought coming into, you have a new head coach, just a new energy. I'm not going to say they're going to go out and win the Super Bowl because Anthony Richardson is still a young guy. I mean, he does need to gain some experience. The guy only started 13 games as a quarterback in college. He's Trey Lance, but from a bigger school. That's it, if you really think about it. Okay. But I like what the Colts did. They went and got young. They went and got athletic guys, which, you need that. You definitely need that. Then the Cardinals, they went and got Paris Johnson. They needed to help support Kyler Murray, which they did. And then they followed up and got B.J. Ojolari, another fantastic edge rusher. You just lose J.J. Watt. Now you replace him with another young edge rusher. So they should be okay. I mean, I've been hard on the Cardinals the last couple of weeks, with their jerseys and all the other offseason stuff that's happening. Now, if they can somehow keep DeAndre Hopkins there, maybe they have a fighting chance. Now, that division is going to be ran by the Niners and the Seattle Seahawks. Maybe the Rams will be better, obviously. But I still like what they did. They addressed some needs. But the two big guys that stand out to me is Paris Johnson and then B.J. Ojolari. So, good. I'm going to give the Cardinals some love, man, because I've been hard on them, right? So that was kind of like my pity pick. And then finally, I got the Detroit Lions. Look, I'm going to list off the guys that they got. And whatever you think about it, maybe some people think that they reached. They probably shouldn't have went and got this guy here. They could have got him there. It is what it is. They got the players. I mean, listen, they got Brian Branch, Jahmyr Gibbs, Hendon Hooker, Sam Laporta, and Jack Campbell. Those are all guys that can start on this team at some point in some time. Brian Branch can start now. Safety out of Alabama. Jahmyr Gibbs, he's going to start. They just moved off DeAndre Swift, who was always hurt. Philly got him. It is what it is. They're going to pair him with, I believe, who's their running back now? I think it's, I forgot who's there now. Is it Devin Singletary? I think he might be there. I don't know who's the other running back there. But Jahmyr Gibbs, who I loved coming into this draft, is going to be there. Hendon Hooker, at some point, I think somebody had mentioned in the comments that he's going to be the eventual starter there, and which is a good thing for him. He's coming off the ACL. Guys like that need to sit. Obviously, he's coming off a major injury. We got to see what he's got. And Jared Goff is not bad. He's serviceable, right? He still led the Rams to a Super Bowl appearance, and you saw what he did last year. So not bad, not a bad pickup. Sam Laporta, one of the more the higher rated tight ends. That he wasn't Kincaid or Mayer, but he's good. And who can name the last tight end that came out of Iowa who's pretty darn good, right? George Kittle. So you just never know. Maybe Iowa's tight end you. And then Jack Campbell, a lot of people thought that was a reach. Listen, I think Jack Campbell's good. He's athletic. He's rangy. He's going to be a guy that's going to be sitting in the middle of that defense, calling it out, making plays. The guy is a machine. And I like those picks. So, Detroit, they got a nice little blend, right? They needed help on defense, one of the worst defenses last year. And then they got a little bit of offense. You can never have enough offense. You can never have enough weapons on the field. Okay. So, why not add both? And, so, good on them. Good on them for adding those pieces. Let's get to some of these comments here. Ben Cornett says winners for him were Eagles, Lions, and Seahawks. I totally agree. Seahawks was good too. I thought they might have reached on Zach Charbonnet. You got DJ Dallas, you have Kenneth Walker. That backfield might be a little bit crowded there, but overall, I thought they did a good job. Devin Witherspoon, that was a head scratcher for some people, but really, when you throw on his tape, if you watch my Clutch Combine videos, you would have known that Devin Witherspoon fits exactly what they want to do in Seattle. They want long, physical corners that can sit there, especially playing a cover 2 zone, which the Seahawks like to do. And that's what Devin Witherspoon does. Christian Gonzalez was available, but maybe he just wasn't a fit. And sometimes that happens too. But we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. He follows up also by Keely Ringo, can be a good defensive end in the NFL if he moves to safety. He's not great in one-on-one coverage, but as a safety, he can be a ball hawk on the great Eagles. Right. Won't be any pressure. But, and if they move him to safety, that's great because that's where they need help anyway. They got 2 good corners, Darius Slay, what's the other guy? And Bradbury. Right. I know Bradbury got some flack in the Super Bowl, but he's not a bad corner. Okay. And then Patrick Brown, he says, your thoughts on HBCU player drafted Jackson State cornerback return specialist Isaiah Bolden. Here's the thing. And I think there was a better HBCU player, Aubrey Miller. I don't think he got drafted. And correct me if I'm wrong. He was an outside linebacker for them. I believe led that team in tackles and sacks, if I'm not mistaken. If you're good, they're going to find you. At this point, look, we have 7th rounders coming in and helping teams win Super Bowls, a la Isaiah Pacheco. So if you're good, you can play in this league. Whether you come from Jackson State to, Bordeaux University Tech, whatever. If you can play, they will find you. Someone said it best. I forgot who said it. It starts now. You got drafted. Now it starts now to stay here. You got to work your butt off, right? Because talent can get you so far. Here's the thing about HBCUs. They're not televised a lot. You don't get to see a lot of these guys. When Coach Prime was in Jackson State or Mississippi, he helped bring light to a lot of these players. Now with him gone to Colorado, you're not going to see that anymore. HBCUs had a small window to get really, a lot of attention. That's gone. Because honestly, do we care about the HBCUs anymore now that Coach Prime's gone? And quite frankly, to be honest with you, we don't. We really don't. So, and I'm not saying that's right, but it is what it is, and that's just what we have to live with. And they're good players. Obviously, we know that they're good, talented players in the HBCU realm, but they're not on TV. You have to really be like a scout or like a super football junkie. And I consider myself a football junkie, and I know some of these guys. But if you're just the average fan, you're not tuning on Saturday morning to watch, I don't even know, Southern University versus, Prairie View ain't like you're just not, unfortunately. So with Coach Prime leaving, it takes that I'm not gonna say a privilege, but it takes that advantage away from HBCU. So hopefully, Mr. Bolden can do his thing, and he can stick around. He's a 7th round pick, so there's a good chance he probably be cut or he'll be a practice squad guy. But hopefully, he'll make that team. And then Ben follows up. He says, Seahawks getting Devon Witherspoon and Jackson Smith and Jigba was huge as well. Got a lockdown corner for the defense and got a really good slot receiver to complement. Yes, Lockett and Metcalf. I totally agree. JSN, it was the perfect fit there. He's not going to be, to me, like the guy. They have a guy, DK Metcalf, but you throw him in that slot, he'll be running around all day. He's like, when you look at him, he's not like super fast, but he plays fast, and that's a big difference. Oh, Patrick Brown says Aubrey Miller is headed to Miami. Okay, well, good for him. Aubrey Miller is a good player. So, I don't know, was he an undrafted free agent or did he get drafted? I don't know. You have to let me know, P, and get back to me on that one. So, but yeah. All right, so we got the winners. Let's talk about, because everyone wants to know what my losers are. Because, listen, I keep it very objective. So before you start hating on me or talking smack, because I'll probably get some hate in my social media from some losers out there. Let's talk about the draft losers. All right, I'm going to start with the Las Vegas Raiders. Now, they took Tyree Wilson. Now, some people think this guy has a tremendous upside. I don't know. He's really elite at stopping the run, but not a great pass rusher. And you're playing a division with Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and I think Russell Wilson, they'll find their stride this coming season. And you get an edge rusher that doesn't really rush the edge like that. He plays the run well, but doesn't get after the quarterback. Now, not a lot is known about him because, doesn't have the production like a Will Anderson had, or a BJ Ojolari, or some of the other more well-rounded edge rushers. But the guy's like 6'6", 6'7", two something, is very long. I get it. But probably could have taken Jalen Carter. Some people say, oh, well, he's going to Vegas. You don't want him to get mixed up in the wrong crowd. Let me tell you something about Vegas. I live here, been here almost a decade, if not a decade. It's not like that all the time, people. I don't go to casinos. I'm not gambling every day. I'm not drinking booze on the sidewalk. You have nice communities here, suburban areas. If you came to my neighborhood, you'd be like, you live in Vegas? Okay. So, like, I get it. It could be a distraction, but look, I live down the street from where the Raiders practice. It's rural. It's filled with businesses and schools and parks. Nothing about it says, hey, I'm going to go out, and I get it. Now he has to go home. He's got to live his life. But me personally, you get Jalen Carter and you surround him with as many resources as he has. If you have to get someone to watch him, then you do that. A private investigator, somebody. The guy's a talent. And I felt like they probably should have taken him to help shore up that defensive line, to help out Max Crosby, who's getting double teamed all the time now. Okay. So, but, and then on top of it, they didn't really address their defensive back situation. There were some good corners in that particular spot in the first and second round. They didn't do anything, to be honest with you. So, and that defense is still, it's dreadful. The offense is not the problem. It's the defense. It's the defense. They can't stop anybody. So, for me, I thought that, and then they picked up Michael Mayer, who's a nice pickup. You replace him with, you replace Darren Waller with him. Not bad, but I felt like you needed more help on the defensive side versus on the offensive side. So it is what it is. But again, like I said before, you can never have enough weapons. But they're just going to have to outscore everybody, because they're not going to be able to get after the quarterback, especially in that division. Maybe they can stop the run now, but the people are going to torch them. Again, you're in a division with quarterbacks that are elite, and then you get an edge rusher that plays the run well but doesn't rush the quarterback, and then you don't draft any really elite solid cornerbacks. Case in point. All right. Moving on. My punk ass Dallas Cowboys. What do I have to say about them? Their draft was just confusing. I guess my biggest beef with the Cowboys draft is that they did get some guys. They definitely did get some guys. But they got a linebacker out of Texas, Overshown. Really good sideline to sideline player. Will help in the run game. Will have to develop into a pass rusher, obviously, but I think he can do it. But you can line him up kind of like in like a hybrid safety linebacker specialist type of deal, which the Cowboys like to do with Dan Quinn. But the Mozzie Smith pick, I get it. As a Cowboys fan, every weekend I'm watching it and I'm like, we cannot stop the run, and I get it. But I felt like Mozzie Smith would have been there in the second round at some point. And if you're going to take a defensive tackle, why not take one of the better ones who's ranked higher, and Brian Bresee out of Clemson, or Bresee, whatever his name is. Okay. But they didn't. I felt like they probably should have, in my opinion, should have addressed the offensive line. Should have definitely addressed the offensive line. And they didn't. They took Mozzie Smith first. And you had, and we needed guards. You had Osiris Torrance out there. You had Steven Avila, who is literally down the street in Fort Worth. And you could have got those guys the second day, or at least Osiris Torrance, you could have got the second day. But then you go and get Luke Schoonmaker, whatever the hell his name is. You got that guy. So I'm not upset with the Mozzie Smith because we had to improve the run defense, but I felt like they didn't map it out well. They didn't do what the Eagles did. They just kind of jumped the gun. I felt like they should have waited. They could have got some guys. And it is what it is. But you can see that they wanted to address the defense. They got guys that can play the run, like Mozzie Smith. They drafted a guy out of, I believe, San Jose State, Fehoko, I believe his name is, who's a good run stopper. I got to see him play a couple times in the Mountain West. I live in Las Vegas, so UNLV's in the Mountain West. So I got to see, not a bad player, right? But first round, they got Mozzie. Probably should have went tight end, Michael Mayer, but again, they go back and get the tight end in the second round, Schoonmaker, when you probably should have got the guard. So to me, I mean, I felt like it was just a weird enigma type of draft for the Dallas Cowboys, and and hopefully I'm wrong, and I'm praying that I'm wrong. And then they go ahead and get Deuce Vaughn, who a lot of people like. At first, I was kind of like, I don't know, but maybe he can fill a void for us or a need, and we didn't really address that other situation too with the running back, even the wide receiver. But I feel like they trust what they got. You got Michael Gallup coming off injury still again, right? Jalen Tolbert, who we drafted last year, coming off injuries, didn't have a great rookie year. So maybe they're feeling those guys are going to be 100% better than what they were last year. They feel confident in Hendershot and Ferguson. And they wanted to bring Schoonmaker on to be more of a blocking tight end. So I don't know. I felt like there were other guys out there, and we kind of missed the boat on it. So let me know what you guys think. We got some comments. So Aubrey Miller was undrafted, right? Okay, thank you, Patrick. He's undrafted. And then, hey, what's up, my guy? Let's talk sports with Richard. You couldn't find. I'm pretty simple. It's clutch.sports.talk on Instagram. Or you can hit me up on TikTok, or actually you can see my socials down below right there. That's where you can find me at. But appreciate you joining. And we'll have to chat it up there soon. Ben says Commanders took Forbes, and was a head scratcher, and and that's a good segue. Christian Gonzalez would have been a better fit there. Gonzalez is more lengthier and can press receivers better than Forbes. Forbes has the speed, but not as strong. Right, absolutely. And I'm glad that you brought that up. Forbes was a head scratcher. He's not that big, which most corners need to be big. Well, I don't know how tall is Forbes, like 5'9", 5'8". I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but he's not one of the bigger corners for sure. So that's going to be a problem for him. Okay. And then who else did they grab? Another guy that I thought was kind of weird. I think his name is Jartavius Martin. From what I read on him, the guy struggles with tackles. They went defense, which I get it. It's a defensive head coach. Probably could have got some offensive guys. They chose not to. So I don't think they prioritized the things the right way, especially in the secondary. So but I'm not gonna beat down the Commanders too much, but to me they were losers in the draft. The Denver Broncos also losers. They did some crazy things. They went and got Denzel Mims out of Oklahoma, which you already have a loaded wide receiver room. You have Jerry Jeudy, Tim Patrick, and Cortland Sutton. And I don't know what Cam Hamlin's doing. And maybe he's going to replace him. I have no idea. And then you added another one, right? You didn't address your defensive end or an edge rusher situation, which there were a couple of them in the draft. You didn't do that. So, again, you're in a division with Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert. Okay, and even Jimmy G. Okay, you want to throw the Raiders in it. They're going to throw the football. And you don't get an edge rusher. That's a head scratcher to me. Okay, don't make sense to me. And then the Dolphins, I think for the most part they should have taken a quarterback or tried to get a quarterback, and they did it. And to me they didn't really address anything else. And to me that's what the fail. And they had a bunch of picks. I know they lost one in the first round due to the whole tampering situation. But for a team they're like right there, I think they're on the cusp. But you have to build through the draft. They have to build through the draft, and I don't think they did anything really that was like, okay, that was like really eye-opening for me. And then Jacksonville Jaguars, again, they needed another edge rusher. Josh Allen is in his final year on his deal. I know you have Trayvon Walker, but the more edge rushers you can get, man, it's to throw out teams, the better. I mean, really, like you cannot have enough of those guys. Especially in a pass-happy league as the NFL. And again, they ended up getting a blocking tight end and a reserve running back. Guys that, aren't going to start or make immediate impact on your team. And I get it. Some teams, they draft for depth, right? And maybe that's what they were doing because you need that depth. But I don't know. You're still a young team. You're still figuring your way out. They had a good year last year. You don't want to be too overconfident and say, oh, we could just run it back again. It don't work like that, man. Ask some of these other teams that had really good success and then suck the next year. So got some more comments here. We got Patrick says Barry's meltdown with Mozzie Smith was picked when he was picked will go down as the funniest moment in our draft history. Yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah, he ran off the set. He had to go. Scott Thaler, excuse me if I mispronounce your name, but he says, I think the LA Rams did all right not having a first round pick. Yeah, you know what? I think they did so too. I think, I didn't have them on my winners, but I thought, they did a good job. They got some offensive line help as well. Now the Stetson Bennett thing, that's kind of weird to me, but it is what it is. One Georgia quarterback for another Georgia quarterback. We'll see how it works out there. Barry from the All Even podcast says he's calmed down, but still, I think I get it. And then Scott says Dolphins did all right because they're going to have to pay their free agent pickups. I agree. I said this before, the Dolphins' ego will be their downfall. I think so too. And I know I spent a lot of time, you guys see my TikToks or Instagram this past week on Tua. The Dolphins did not protect themselves. Tua is literally one hit away from not playing anymore in the National Football League. And you're going to ride with that. And I know they have, who's their quarterback up? Teddy Bridgewater and then Skylar Thompson. Come on, man. I'm not saying that, obviously Lamar Jackson thing is out the window now. But I definitely agree with you, Richard Cole. Their ego will get in the way. And then Barry again, Commanders really shart the bed. What a horrible draft. Yeah, I think Ron Rivera is going to be on the way out. Yeah, I think so. And then carving it up, Bryson says, I thought Pittsburgh. Yes, I forgot to add Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh did a good draft. They got Broderick Jones. They got two really good cornerbacks and Joey Porter Jr. and Corey Trice. Listen, that defense is going to be good as usual, and their offense is going to get better. Kenny Pickett started to come on late last year. They added Broderick Jones to help shore up that offensive line. They got talent on the offensive side. You got Najee Harris. Hopefully, he can bounce back a little bit. Deontay Johnson, George Pickens. They added Allen Robinson in the offseason here. So, good job on the Pittsburgh Steelers, man. I like them. And I like Mike Tomlin. So I know as a Cowboys fan, I really shouldn't be rooting for them, but I like Mike, man, and that's a good team. Richard comes back and says Jacksonville Foundation is strong. They will make the playoffs again. I agree. They have a good foundation. They have a good set of young core players, and their head coach is good. Doug Peterson is a fine coach, a Super Bowl winning coach. You saw what he can do when he comes in, and they're going to be in contention. They're in the AFC South, obviously. So you got Houston, you got Indianapolis, and then you got Tennessee. So that's a very melting pot of teams there, but they should definitely be the leaders in the clubhouse going into this next season. And then Sports PSP, he says, I disagree with the Commanders. Commanders draft wasn't bad. It was solid. We picked up. Yeah, you picked up some defensive dudes, but you didn't pick up the right defensive dudes. Again, the whole Forbes thing, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see if he can play. He's super athletic, very fast, but not very big. And most corners these days, you got to be pretty big. But I don't think they did anything else that was like, wow. Like, what I'm saying? And so before anyone starts hating on me, like, oh, I'm hating on you, my own team's up here. Okay, so if that doesn't tell you anything, then you don't know squat, because I'm being objective as possible. I could easily not have the Cowboys on here and be like, oh, they did great, and BS you guys. But I'm keeping it real. And I'm going to get a lot. When I post this stuff, people go, whatever. It is what it is. It's my opinion. If you don't like it, you can shut the hell up and move off the page. So, all right. So good comments, man. Keep them guys coming. All right. So let's talk about Lamar Jackson. So the deal went down on right before the draft started on Thursday. So I believe we got a 5-year deal, 200 and you guys, I don't know, off the top of my head, I don't remember. I think it's like 5 years, 260 million. I believe 185 is guaranteed to him. Someone asked me today, I was on the NFL with AJL show. He asked me, do I feel that Lamar Jackson deserved his money? And the simple answer was, yeah. I mean, he deserved his money. I'm not gonna criticize anyone for making their scratch. He did it without an agent. Good for him. And I think a lot of that money is going back to his mom, because I think she's been his representative or something like that. So he held out. He stood the line, even though it was looking kind of dicey there for a little bit. But he did what he needed to do, and therefore he got his bag. Now, what does that mean for him? A lot. He's gonna have to play better in the postseason. Now, At this point, I don't care what you do in the regular season. I really do not care what you do in the regular season at this point anymore. For him, especially, you've been a league MVP. You've been to the playoff a couple times. I think he's only one or two games. Correct me if I'm wrong, and hasn't looked good really in the win that he got. So you're getting this money. They addressed your talent situation on the offense. You go ahead and sign OBJ. They draft Zay Flowers, who I like, and then the reports that Antonio Brown. Now, I don't know if it's official. Antonio Brown is reporting that he's signing with the Ravens, but we can't trust anything Antonio Brown has to say at this point. So we'll have to wait and see. But he's gonna have to live up to this hype. Now, again, this is separate from deserving his money, because I've seen people go back and forth like, oh, you might be hating on him for getting his money. I'm not hating on anyone for getting their money, but with a big payday comes great responsibility, and you've seen it numerous times. Some quarterbacks can overcome it, like a Patrick Mahomes. That got paid. His psyche changed. He wasn't the same guy anymore. Jalen Hurts just got paid. We're going to see what happens to him now, right? Obviously. And now Lamar gets paid. What's going to happen to him? Now he's going to have to sit there. Well, I'm making $260 million. I got to will this team to a Super Bowl. He's got to at least make to an AFC conference championship. He has to. They can't get bounced out in the first round anymore. That cannot happen. Okay. So do I think they will? Honestly, I think he's going to get hurt again, unfortunately. And this is where people will start to bang on me a little bit, but that's fine. I'll put a little pushback is okay. I like a little pressure because that either creates diamonds or bursts pipes. But history says that he's going to get hurt. Him and OBJ are going to be sitting on the sideline counting their money while holding a clipboard because they're going to be injured. Unfortunately, I don't wish that, but I think that's probably going to happen. So if they continue down this road, or maybe he plays smarter, maybe now the Ravens are like, we can't run this guy the way we used to because it's a big investment on the field. But then now that takes away from his biggest asset, which is running around, making plays, being a playmaker, playing off script. You're not going to have that anymore. So it's going to be a weird balance. They're going to have to find that medium because you need him to be Lamar Jackson, but then he can't be Lamar Jackson because you're afraid that he'll get hurt. And then now he's sitting there for God knows how long, and you're stuck with Tyler Huntley? I don't know. So again, I'm glad that he got his money. He deserved it. He's a league MVP. He's been the face of that franchise since he's gotten there after he replaced Joe Flacco. And without him, they're irrelevant. They are irrelevant without Lamar Jackson. So yeah, you have to pay him. Kind of like how the Cowboys had to pay Dak Prescott, because without him, they're irrelevant. No one wants to watch the Dallas Cowboys with Cooper Rush like that. At least from a monetary, from a TV perspective, ratings and stuff like that. You don't want to see that. You don't. Now, Cooper Rush was solid. He ended up winning. He went 3-1 as a quarterback for the Cowboys. But really, it's better TV when Dak Prescott's back there. The league knows that. Fans know that because it creates controversy. Because it's either you love Dak or you don't like him, or you hate him. So same thing with Lamar Jackson. You got to have him on there. I'm not trying to watch a Sunday night game, Tyler Huntley versus Patrick Mahomes. Don't want to see that. I want to see Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes. I want to see all of the top quarterbacks go against each other. But can Lamar stay healthy? That's the biggest question mark. I won't challenge anything else because the numbers are what the numbers are. 70% wins, tremendous passing percentage. He gets it done stat-wise for the most part. But when it boils down to it, can he stay healthy? And to me, that's the biggest question out of them all. It's not your productivity, it's your availability. So I'll leave it there. And Richard Cole, he says, of course, Lamar deserves the bag. Scott says, OBJ should make Lamar a great QB. Not that he's in already. Hopefully, and if that guy can stay healthy too. We haven't seen this guy since the Super Bowl. So a lot of lofty expectations for them. If they can stay healthy, of course, the Ravens have a chance to do something. That defense is going to be pretty good against them. Again, if they can stay healthy. That's been the problem for the Ravens the last couple of years is health. And that's nothing any one of us can predict at this point. Scott says the Rams needed a third quarterback in Bennett, maybe Cam Newton. Okay. Going back to the Rams thing there. All right. Final talk before we get out of here for the morning. And thank you guys, man. The comment section has been lit. Appreciate you guys, everyone in there. Aaron Rodgers, finally. The deal is done. He's out of the dark and into the light. He's left the friendly confines of Lambeau Field in Wisconsin, Green Bay, Wisconsin, and now is heading to the big city big city greens, as they would say, into the New York Jets. Listen, I did. I I'm a little mixed on this whole thing, but hear me out here. When again, I was asked on another show the other day how I felt, who won the draft, between, not the draft, the trade between the Packers and the Jets. If you look at it from a picks perspective, you can say maybe the Packers got the better end of the deal, or maybe the Jets, depending on how you look at it. I'm a peace of mind guy, so me personally, I think they both got what they wanted, minus the picks. If you want to rule out the picks, the Packers got rid of some baggage they've been trying to get rid of for the last couple of years. Okay, Rodgers had become toxic, right? He was having a hissy fit last year, right, when he was doing Jeopardy and God knows whatever else. Then the season comes along, they end up not making the playoffs, and he walks off. Had problems with the GM, with the head coach, had initial problems with the young wide receivers. He just needed to go, right? And you're probably wondering, well, that's arguably one of the best quarterbacks of all time. Yes. But sometimes, man, if it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit. You got to move on sometimes. In business, if it ain't working out, regardless of how much or how bad you want it to work out, sometimes you just got to cut your losses and move on. And finally, the Packers were able to do that. Now, the Jets, on the other hand, needed a quarterback. Zach Wilson was not hitting it. He's not the dude, right? Will never be the dude there, obviously. And they had to go get a quarterback. Now, is Aaron Rodgers going to be the guy? Will he come in and be this breath of fresh air? I don't know. Here's the thing about Aaron Rodgers. He's a unique character. He's very self-absorbed. He's surly. Um, he's a great wordsmith. I like to put it. So he won't commit. He's not committing to the Jets. Excuse me. Because the question was asked, well, how long do you plan on playing? He's like, I'm just taking it one season at a time, which he should say that. I mean, obviously, he can't come out and say, well, this is it, guys. I'm not going to play after this year, because the Jets would have never made the deal. But there's a good chance he may be done, especially if it doesn't work out. Which there's a good chance it may not work out. Now, I know the Jets are one of the sexiest picks right now that they added Aaron Rodgers. That offense is ready to go. That defense is going to be good. You're in a division that's, I would say winnable. I mean, depending on what happens to Miami and Tua. You don't have to worry about the Patriots like that. I guess they should be beating the Patriots now, right? You have a quarterback. And then you could be competing with the Buffalo Bills, which, you beat last year. So you split the season series with them. So, that division is going to be interesting. How does Aaron Rodgers fit into it? He's got a mixture of some young and old guys to throw to. Alzar, a guy that he's very familiar with. Garrett Wilson, who came on the scene last year and balled out. So some people say it's going to be a bust. Scott feels that way. He says Jets will be a bust. And there's a good chance that will be the possibility, because there's a lot of pressure now to win now for the Jets. It's not like, the Jets are a cute little story. They got some great players. Now you got a Hall of Fame quarterback. Now it's time. It's time to put up or shut up, because if not, we're gonna be laughing at the Jets, unfortunately. Richard Cole says, from the Let's Talk Sports show, says the Jets Green Bay trade was beneficial too. Yeah, I agree. I mean, look. I'm just gonna read you what the Packers. The Packers got the Jets number 13, the 42 and 207th pick, and then the Jets received Aaron Rodgers, the number 15 and 107. So they flip flop the first round picks for next year, which is a big deal. But Aaron Rodgers, though, one of the picks that does come into play, I believe, becomes a first round. Yeah, I'm reading it right here. So that first round pick becomes a first round pick if Rodgers plays 65% of the season. So yeah, it's that second conditional round pick. If he does that, then that can be big for the Packers. So if you want to look at it that aspect, but I think, like, in a situation that was toxic like that, it's best to just break your ties and move on, and just like, so. But either way, but yeah. And then before I get out here, he says, breaking news: NFL targeting May 11th to release the schedule. Yeah, that's usually right. It's usually April, but it looks like they're bouncing it out to May, which is always fun. Well, we'll talk about that later on when May 11th. Well, we're in April. No, I'm sorry, I'm tripping. You're right. It's May. I got my months mixed up. Yeah, you're right. You're right there, Patrick. Let's talk with sports. Says he plays 2 years with the Jets, and the Jets will be contender. Let's not forget they will be closing. They'll be close to being a PO. What is a PO? If you want to enlighten me on that, maybe I'm missing that. And then he comes back and says, Jets will be a contender to win their division this year and make the playoffs. Oh, yeah. I mean, I think they're going to be a contender for sure. Now, do I think that as far as a divisional contender, I don't know if they're Super Bowl ready yet. I don't know. Can Salah be that guy? And then Barry says, I'm going to miss Aaron Watch. Yes. I don't have the patience for it. I can't, I'm talking about him now, but I'm just like the whole Lamar, Aaron Rodgers thing. It just gets stale for me, but some people they're here for it. Me, I'm not one of them. I'm not one of them. So, but shout out to Barry, man, doing a great job there. Let's see. And I believe that's it. That's all we got, man. So, playoff team. That's what he meant. Okay, so playoff team. Yeah. Oh yeah, I think they could be a playoff team. The AFC is going to be tough though. It's a lot of good teams in the AFC. I mean, just in their division alone, they have 3 potential playoff teams: Bills, Dolphins, Jets. If you look at the AFC, you got obviously AFC West. Let's think about that. Let's see. You got the Chiefs, of course. So that's 4 teams already in the playoffs. Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Cleveland. That's 7 teams already, right? And we haven't even looked at the Jags, and who else is out there? There's a bunch of other teams. So the AFC is going to be, they're not top, they're top heavy. The NFC, there might be some wiggle room there, but the Jets are going to have an uphill battle. And we'll see what their schedule's like. So that definitely. And John Rivera says, let's go Jets. Hey man, I didn't put them on the losers today. We were just talking about Aaron Rodgers if you just joined the show. So I didn't put him on my loser board for my winners and losers of the draft. So I think you'll be happily pleased with that. So yeah, because I didn't give them no love in the free agency. I thought they were losing in the free agency, but they became a winner because they went ahead and got Aaron Rodgers. So, but it's gonna be fun. It's definitely gonna be fun. So we'll have to wait and see. But hey, that's all I got. You guys hear the music? That means my time is up. I got to get out of here. I got to get to the rest of my Sunday. I hope you guys do the same as well, man. Listen, hit me up on my social media platforms. John, he says, yeah, thank you, sir. You got it, my brother. Respect. But yeah, check me out, man. YouTube. I'm gonna be coming up with some videos this week. TikTok is blowing up. Check me out on there, man. Head over to the Grid Network to check out all the great content creators we have for the Grid. I don't know what else to say, man. This has been a great show. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for watching. And for my audio listeners, also thank you for watching. And be on the lookout for my next episode next week, Sunday at the same time. But that's all I got. As I always say, this is Clutch Sports Talk NFL Sunday Wake Up with me, Ryan Flowers. Never settle. The work is done. Peace out, guys.